Our next guest was an all-American mom and a housewife, but that all changed when she decided to take matters into her own hands to help police solve her best friend's murder. Take a look.
In 1984, Angie was my college roommate. She was very fun. She had a great personality. In our sophomore year, Angie moved off campus. It was on a Saturday morning and the phone was ringing. One of Angie's sorority sisters said there was an accident. She couldn't talk after that. I said, "Is Angie dead?" And she said yes. I remember crying and I remember screaming. Angie was raped and brutally stabbed to death. The man knocked at the door and he asked to use her restroom and her phone. She let him in. She called her boyfriend and he knew something was wrong. Then the man took a knife, dragged her into the bedroom, and then proceeded to rape her.
My girlfriend called me, said there was a man in her apartment using the bathroom and the phone. Now I cannot get her to answer the phone. Her car's here and she won't answer the door, can't answer the door.
She was stabbed 18 times and so forcefully that he broke some bones. There was so much blood. There she was, dead. I was never the same. Angie's murder haunted me. 20 years had passed since the time that she was murdered. I had started a Bible study. I saw a vision, and it was Angie. All I wrote was, "It's time." I had to do something to get justice for her, whatever it took.
Oh, Sheila Wysocki is here today. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Welcome.
For having me. Thank you.
So, explain what you did next.
Actually, what I did next after seeing Angie was pick up the phone. The only tool I had, I lived in Tennessee, so I was 700 miles away. I picked up the phone and dialed the Dallas police. And I found out there was no cold case division. And I knew that the original officer was there, and I left him a message. And then I left him another message. And I left him 50 messages, and he never called me back.
And how many years after the crime was this?
This is 20 years.
20 years after the crime.
20 years. And
all because of this vision you had during Bible study.
Right. When Angie and I were roommates, she would always come to me whenever there was a problem. She had an ex-boyfriend that pulled a knife on her. And so she called me and I dealt with the police and the situation during that period. And so I knew she was coming to me to finish up.
Wow.
But weren't you intimidated by these officers, knowing that even when it happened all those years ago, they weren't exactly receptive to your, hounding them?
They were not receptive to me at all. I actually was very harassing to them, and they did not welcome me at all with open arms. And there was one obstacle and then another obstacle. And if you tell me no, I'm going to find a way to get a yes. And that's what I did.
You decided to become a private investigator.
I did.
Incredible.
Yes. So after 2 years of trying to get them to pay attention to me, I had to look at another way. And I live in a gated community, and the head of security and I were talking one day, and I said, "I've got this case, and it's personal. You need to tell me what to do." He goes, "You'll make a great private investigator. I'll sponsor you."
And you did just that.
I did. I am dyslexic, so I had my son read me all the books to become a PI.
Wow.
So
did your son become a PI too along the way? It
He's in college right now.
Uh-huh.
He called me eccentric recently, so yeah, he's out of the will. He read me the books, and the night before I took the test, I was able to pass the test. He says he passed it, but I did.
No, I was just going to say, how did you even set about juggling it all, or making up your mind that as a full-time mother, you were going to take on this other job?
Well, I'll tell you, I do have ADD, and that's a blessing. So I can do 2 to 5 things at a time. I can handle, the children, my husband, and work.
Emotionally, though, what was driving you?
Because of the milestones. Angie wasn't ever going to getting married, having children, having a relationship, or changing the world. She was brilliant. She was a computer science major and an engineering major, and that's when women weren't.
Explain who you thought killed Angie.
Actually, when working with the police in 1984, I was told that a suspect was Russell Buchanan, and I, for 20 years,
You
knew
believed
it was
him.
him. Oh, I knew it was
You
him.
were sure it was Russell Buchanan.
Hands down, I was sure.
And you actually went face to face with him, right? You didn't.
Yes. In 1984, we went out to dinner, and I'd take notes and give them to the police. They'd tell me what to ask them, and I would turn over the information. And here I am sitting across from a murderer, you know, having dinner with him, and his story never changed. It just didn't make sense.
You fought to get the DNA examined.
Yes, actually, the DNA was a problem. First of all, just to get the file onto a police officer's desk to look at it, since they didn't have the cold case division, that was a problem. And then they finally pulled the DNA, and it was the greatest day in the world. The examiner did a good job preserving it. It was
Which is a miracle.
Yeah.
It is
Incredible.
from 1984, and God loved that woman. But they had it; it was all intact. And they said, you know, we've got it. And I said, good, test it. And they said it was going to cost money. And I said, I'll write you a check. How much do you need? And she goes, we can't do that.
But you kept at it.
Yes, and it took a long time to get that DNA match, a long time.
Well, the man that Sheila suspected for nearly 25 years of killing her best friend is here, and he has something he wants to say to Sheila. We'll meet Russell next.